Welcome back to the SECT Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Sad Eyes. The SECT Metal Podcast is an outgrowth of Scene Productions here in Eastern Connecticut. And today we have an interview with Connecticut locals Buzzard Canyon, a band that's not just been playing a lot in Connecticut, but all over the place, all over the East Coast. And we're going to catch up with them in just a little bit. Unfortunately, my co-host, Death Metal Bob, was not here today, but he has a good reason. We had Scene Fest 2 last night at Altones in Jewish City, run by Scene Productions, and there were, 8 or 10 bands, and DMB was there for every single one of them, going crazy like he always does. So he's paying the price this morning, and I think he's still sleeping. But let's get into it now, our interview with Buzzard Canyon. All right, so I'm here with Buzzard Canyon at an undisclosed location. I believe this is Aaron's house, and I got to tell you, when I was pulling up, I expected like an old, 1890s Baptist church that had been painted black, and it's not quite where we're at, but I'm not going to go into any more details, because you guys are mysterious and stuff, but this is, I will say that the room we're in has a purple carpet, and that's not, you don't see that all the time. That's
Could be bloodstains.
It's pretty good. But anyway, yeah, Buzzard Canyon. And I just want to go over this real quick. So we got Matt on drums.
Hello.
Randy.
Hey.
Dumas on bass. We got Aaron on guitar and vocals.
Hello.
Amber on vocals.
Hello.
And Mike.
Yeah, what's up?
Mike, who just nods into the microphone for his answers on guitar. So I want to get the most basic question out of the way that everybody always asks, how the band got together. But first, Amber, if you've been abducted and that's why you're part of this band, at some point just blink 3 times and I'll alert the authorities. Same thing goes for the rest of you guys. If you were abducted by Amber as part of the band, just blink 3 times and we'll make sure that the authorities are notified. So yeah, obviously you guys have been playing in bands forever, and the more I hear about you guys, talking to Scott Harrington and stuff, he's giving me a history that you guys been playing in bands, some of you since high school. How did this particular project come together?
So this is Aaron, and there was a period of time when the Deadbolt Breaks, which is the other band that I do, that we do actually. I wanted to do something that was pretty much straightforward rock and roll, like Motorhead meets Thin Lizzy type thing. So I got some guys together and started, I think what it was Thunderhoof at the time, and it just never really worked out. So it just went through a bunch of different iterations, and Matt, Mike, and myself were in
Burning Kind, which we got together for a couple years there, and even your lead singer,
Sean
Punzisland was our lead singer.
That's what I was going to ask, because I heard that there might be some old demo recordings of him singing Buzzard Canyon songs.
Yeah,
there's 2 that could. There's Not My Cross and Highway Run, which you mainly sang Highway Run. It would have been Not My Cross probably.
Yeah, Not My Cross. But and Scott helped put everybody in that band together. That's actually how I met.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's how I met Matt, and Mike and I have known each other for years. But so eventually, I wanted to bring Thunderhoof or whatever it was at the time back together again. I wanted to try it again, and Scott was like, "Hey, I've got this idea." So Matt came in on drums, and Mike came in on guitar. Or actually, no, it was Matt came in on drums, and then Dumas came in on bass, right? From Scott, right? And at the time, so it was just a 3-piece for a little while, and then eventually I wanted to bring another guitar, and we brought Mike in, and I had met Amber, and we were just at that point starting to do some demos, and at the time I was singing on my own, but I wanted to do something more dynamic, and when I met Amber, she sang some a cappella stuff for me, and it blew me away, and I brought her into the studio and put her on some of the tracks and played it for the guys. And
so when you say a cappella, you're talking like Beach Boys, like
Patty Griffin.
Patty Griffin, okay.
Griffin.
All right.
Yeah. Sang a song, and then when he showed me all the just different tracks and everything, I just basically did what my version would be of all the songs and added to whatever he did vocally, and we went from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to ask how you would classify Buzzard Canyon, because I don't think I could easily peg it. Like, I wouldn't come out and say this is a metal band or this is a punk band, or it's definitely hard rock, right? But you just mentioned two acts that you had in your head ahead of time as you're putting this together, kind of a mix of those. So how would you classify it?
We call it camaro-rock, and it's
it's perfect.
It's kind of a term that I would say we coined it. I mean, as far as our style goes, we are camaro-rock. This is what it is. And the whole idea was we weren't trying to recreate the wheel. We wanted to do something that was just, if you could picture yourself in the desert driving in an 80-something Camaro, windows rolled down, mullet blowing in the wind, fist pumping out the air. That's what we wanted to do.
That's what your riffs sound like.
Yeah, and it's got a
mullet
punk
riffs.
Rock attitude to it and a hard rock feel. It's just aggression, and it's upbeat,
Just so the rest of you guys know, I was messaging back and forth with Aaron last week talking about this interview, and he mentioned that he had a Camaro, and I said I knew that just from your haircut. So, it's pretty.
Which was actually in our video.
Yeah, that was the one in the video.
Yeah. Okay, I figured that. I do want to talk about that video.
Behind the scenes, there was a lot of trust there driving the Camaro.
I bet
with the scenes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's nice red. Yeah. Then you got to pull it over on the side of the road. Yeah. I do want to talk about that. So Aaron, having seen both this band and When the Deadbolt Breaks for the last couple of years, the videos you make, the photography you do, you strike me as a guy that's like an artist, whether you want it to be or not. Like, you probably always have to be creating something. Is that a correct diagnosis?
I don't know. Is it? I guess. Yeah, I guess. I've always, doing the photography and the music, I always wanted to be able to tie it in together and to make them both work together, side by side. And just over the past couple of years, that's actually been really possible, which is fantastic. So now it's like one working unit more than anything else. So
right.
I guess kind of, yeah.
It's like multimedia.
Right.
Yeah. So Buzzard Canyon, obviously very different band from Deadbolt. Does this scratch a different creative itch for you than?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, they're two completely different animals. I mean, Deadbolt is very emotional and kind of physically fixed, deep-seated type shit. And Buzzard Canyon is just, it's aggression, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, Deadbolt's fun too, but it's a different form of fun, I guess. So, yeah, it's two totally different animals.
Can you confirm, or any of you guys, can you confirm or deny the rumor that you're starting a side project with some guys from Casting Shadows and calling it Avenged 708?
Who let that out?
I read it on Blabbermouth. So, we were talking about, obviously you guys are very serious about Deadbolt also, and I'm also involved with multiple musical projects, and you can almost like look at musical projects almost like kids. They're just so different from each other. Like, the kids have different personalities and stuff, and it's impossible to say I like this kid better than my other kid, right? Having said that, which band do you like better?
Who are you asking?
Yes.
I honestly can't even say. I mean, to me, like I said, for me personally, it's two totally different experiences. There's almost no comparison. I mean,
for me, it's playing two different instruments, scratches two different spots. Which one do I like better? I can't say. For me, it's a very different experience. The emotional experience, playing in such a rhythmic style on drums versus playing upbeat rock and roll on a bass guitar. They're two very different experiences, and one has its challenges, one has its comfort zone, but to pull myself out on either one it's just that's inherent fun on its own to challenge myself.
I grabbed you at a show once not long ago. The personalities of your two bands are so different. Like, Deadbolt doesn't have time for fun, it seems like, at least in its presentation, whereas Buzzard Canyon is kind of like an upbeat feeling thing. But I said to you, you seem to have more fun playing bass. Now, I know Aaron doesn't allow you to look like you're having fun during Deadbolt, but you get into that bass And you've been playing that longer than drums.
Oh
right?
yeah, I've been playing bass since I was like 10. Drums was something that early on as a teenager, I was in bands, had band practice at my house, so the drummer's kit, I could use it. Guitars were there, bass was there for me to use too. So then as I always ended up becoming friends with the drummer as a bass player, so you talk drums. You end up playing drums. You learn things. And I somehow managed to be around a drum kit at some points, and then finally I got my own, and it went into that. But when I'm playing bass, there's a certain level of comfort. I've been doing it for so long, and I am having a blast with what I'm doing. And it is a more fun, upbeat rock and roll charge, where Deadbolt has its, pull it back. It's more instinctual. It's more hitting those dark sides in my brain that really come out, and there is a little less comfort in it. I do have to pay attention to what I'm doing. And likewise,
you can't
I like
see
to push
back there.
myself.
It's so dark, and there's all this like Satan imagery getting blasted into your eyes.
And there might be a light over here that's just glaring, and I put a symbol in the way. But there's different things, even challenging myself on the drums, because I like to push forward. I always have on bass, so why not on drums? So
right.
It's a different even mood that I'm in after a Deadbolt set. I'm definitely in like a whoa.
Oh, like everyone else in the building.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I hope
now,
so.
Speaking to you, Dumas, you're kind of a freak. Like I was talking to Scott of the Earth, and he was mentioning that you were basically drafted right up to the major leagues from high school. Like some of these guys, saw you in some high school band, and like, we need that kid. And now it's 20-something years later, but is that true?
That is 100%.
And it's from bass.
From bass, I was playing in my prior band. We did some shows with Scott's old band. Mike was there.
Yeah, we started that a long time ago.
Aimed Aggression. And so they saw me doing what I was doing, and Scott came to my house. At one point, he admitted that he had come to my house to ask me, but I was still in the other band, so he didn't want to steal me. And then I had to look at him like a few months later. I saw him at a Typo Negative show. I'm like, hey, I hear, we got things, going on. Let's jam. And I'm like, dude, why didn't you say something? I would have, I definitely wanted to jam in what came out of that was Minus, and ended up being this like, this band is, at the time, it was like totally what I wanted to do as opposed to what I had been doing. And yeah, I never looked back.
What we talked about this because both our bands went on a weekend run last weekend to Delaware and Maryland. We were talking a little bit about your finger style bass playing and how you were sort of like browbeaten into playing like that because people were like, "Hey, how come you can't play like Cliff Burton? Like, what's your deal?"
Totally.
And now you got your own style, which not only it sounds great, but visually, like I've been telling this story all week, but there was a woman came up. She's there with her boyfriend. She came up and she's filming you playing bass, and of course, me being me, I'm filming her filming you playing bass. But she was so taken, and she was in the bar. She was in the bar, like she wasn't even in the band room, and she sees, who's that white Robert Trujillo over there with his side shaved? I got to get over there and film some of that. And her biker husband is in the bar looking like a thug, and he's got his arms crossed. And I'm like, man, this might not end well if he gets jealous. They were
totally cool about it.
Have to have Mike stab somebody over here. But you have a very like I said, you just look like you're having so much fun playing bass. Kind of wild antics, very animated, moving around.
Those are the guys I admired growing up. Were the old school metal guys, pre-metal guys. You go visit the Geezer Butlers, the John Entwistles, even going to John Paul Jones on the playing all those, hitting every note. Jaco Pastorius, the jazz guys, where you had a discipline to it. You had to keep that rhythm, so you hit those extra notes, but it had to be the right note too, the right rhythm. And with my fingers, I can do that, but way better than doing it any other method. And then at a point, you just got to have fun with it, because if you're not having fun with it, then what the fuck is the point?
Right. So you're the kind of bass player that is taking your role as part of the rhythm section seriously, connecting the melody to the, whereas a bass player like me is only playing bass because I'm not good enough to play guitar.
Oh man, don't go there. But
I'm not precise enough.
But I do take that role seriously.
Yeah, that seems obvious. Matt, word on the street is that you're a Berkeley guy. Berkeley trained, Berkeley educated musician.
Yes, I went to Berkeley and graduated in 2000, music business management.
You graduated too. Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. So what I got to ask the rest of you guys though is he like intolerable in band practice? Like he's got to be just constantly telling you guys like
Click track.
like you guys aren't playing that Phrygian enough. Like you're not Mixolydian. You're not getting that right. You know.
He doesn't speak Spanish.
You know
You don't know that.
that attempted polytonality is actually like an enharmonic interval. Is he always saying stuff like that? And is Mike the only one who understands when he talks like that?
Well, Dumas here understands that as well.
Really?
Yeah, we go back and forth a little bit, but mostly for fun.
Do you guys talk music? Can you speak music or read or
To a point.
Oh my God! You guys are like professionals.
We mostly argue, believe it or not, about like the color of text on like stickers
Oh.
that we're going
When I walked in today, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
Like Dumas is over here. He's like, "We need more contrast." You used some word I didn't think was in your repertoire. It was like polytonality or something. It's a monochromatic. I was like, "Man, you guys get deep with this stuff."
We didn't kill all of our brain cells yet. I'm working on it.
Working on it.
But I can actually, I want to speak to this guy. Is when he does
Matt on the
play-
drums. You're talking about.
Yes, well, Matt on the drums is that as he works out a phrase, you can see where he knows where he's going with things. He knows how to figure something out. Much the way I can figure out bass, you can see him going through a process. Kind of, we could be like tuning or something. He might be going through a process of, all right, how am I going to do this thing on the toms that equals out a much bigger thing?
Right. Do you guys, as the rhythm section, talk about fills and like connect your fills together and really think about that and exclude all these melody players from that conversation? Or you just do it. You guys are so like in sync.
Do it, and a lot of the writing with new riffs would come from usually something on guitar that either Aaron or Mike would start, and we would just kind of interpret it ourselves. And if something strikes us, we'll go back and focus on that or rework it.
Yeah, but
You know?
you guys do though. Like between the drums and the bass, they do definitely lock in. Like, and it's weird because I don't know if it's like I feel like it just happens. Like they never talk about it. It just happens.
Right.
Like Matt starts doing something on drums and Dumas is like, okay, cool, and he just flows with it and it happens and it just sticks like that. So yeah, they do end up locking directly.
We
That's
speak
where-
in musical phrases.
Yeah.
Using the universal language of music.
Experience tells the tale there, definitely. I mean, experience, it happens.
Matt, having gone through Berkeley, and I know you graduated from the music side, but are you one of, like a multi-instrumentalist where you can pick up a guitar and you can?
No,
are you more
I
of a
do
drum
know a lot of theory, but when I was forced to take all kinds of like traditional theory and jazz things, and for me, just doing the exams and learning that stuff, I had to kind of figure things out. Just look at it as a mathematical formula, an equation. I'm serious. Like I was drawing circle of fifths, and there were even a couple exams where I would draw out a piano keyboard.
Yeah.
Say, okay, what key am I in here? And then there were just kind of rules they would want you to know of, jazz phrasings. And
Yeah.
I couldn't associate that as something musical at the time because it was all just formula to
Right.
me. The drum stuff was fine. Like I could read the
Yeah.
music and do all that, but
There had to be some serious band nerds over there, just like kids that were so engrossed in like jazz and stuff they couldn't even speak English.
oh yeah.
That's those people are intolerable to me. I can't stand.
The best were the jazz heads that would be out on like Sunday morning at 9 a.m. kind of just hanging out,
Actually
in
playing.
in front of Starbucks, which was across the street.
Okay.
There's like that was their routine.
My drummer Rob, I don't know if he told you this. He was impressed with your drum setup because you hear somebody comes from Berkeley and you think, oh, he's going to be another like Dream Theater, like more cymbals, and you can, he said your drum set is pretty minimalistic. It's just very big. Like you have a big bass drum, you have big stuff, but you don't have a lot of things, and you kind of make the most out of a smaller kid. Is that true?
Yeah. I play what I feel I need, and I've kind of got this code that if it's a cymbal, if it's smaller than 18 inches, it better be a hi-hat.
Right.
And you don't, or a cowbell. Yeah. You
guys do rock that cowbell.
Bigger.
That's nice.
Bigger dimension drums, you get more bang for the buck. It's fun. It's like,
it makes sense for you guys too. You just got that big sound all the way around, and
definitely the homage to the John Bonham.
Yeah. Switching topics, Aaron, you look like if the Bad Kids in Stand By Me grew up. Has anyone ever said that to you?
Are we gonna fight later? Is that the deal?
No, because you got a switchblade. That's obvious. Look at you.
It's got a comb in it, though. So does that count?
Is that Chris Chambers or is that Gordon LaChance? Yeah, it'd just be Chris Chambers.
No, the Bad Kids.
Bad Kids?
The ones that were hanging with
Snake.
Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you're on that side of the tracks for sure. You ain't hanging out with no Will Wheaton.
I've gotten some shit for the way I look, but whatever. It's cool.
No, it's you. The first time we played with you guys, I thought you guys you played with Deadbolt. I thought you were going to be like a heavy rockabilly thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I get that a lot, right?
Yeah, like a Reverend Horton Heat, with like down-tuned strings or something. So Amber, we got some questions from the Eastern Connecticut Metal Group. Dwayne wanted to know, shout out to Dwayne Eldridge from Scene Productions, who are your vocal influences?
Definitely Patty Griffin. Folk music. Just love her. She tells a great story, and she's got a beautiful range. She's also very bluesy. When I was a little kid, I started singing with Madonna. Doing the whole music ensemble and everything, sing and dance with it.
Okay.
You name it. But then, as I get older, I started getting into Fiona Apple, Cranberries, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots.
90s.
Your 90s grunge movement, basically. And these are all people that can really sing. I've always really just kind of taught myself along the way how to sing, and I would emulate a whole bunch of different vocal styles, and love Squirrel Nut Zippers too, straight up
Swing.
yeah. Yeah. Led Zeppelin too. My dad, he would always play Led Zeppelin and Cream and Queen and all that stuff back in the day. Up the Police, of course.
Classics.
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of stuff that wouldn't necessarily you when you look at or listen to Buzzard Canyon, you wouldn't immediately say, oh, that there's some folk or Madonna influence there. Mm-hmm. So you're drawing from a lot of different places.
Yeah.
That's it. The most memorable musicians, that's what they do. They collect from elsewhere. It's.
But that's what works. That's what works with her style too. Is that it's not like if she came in and she was loved Lemmy, loved Black Sabbath, whatever. I think it would be a whole different animal.
Yeah.
But she's got.
There's a lot of those animals.
Well, yeah. Which and there's nothing. I love them too. But she's got this such a unique style that when you do it with what we're doing, it comes out very interesting, very unique. So,
right. That comes across. Dwayne also wants to know, when's the new album coming out? You guys are putting out Deadbolt now. So Buzzard Canyon might have taken a bit of a back seat, but what are we doing?
Well, we tried, because there's the same members in both bands, or some of the same members. We try to, put one foot in front of the other. It's so one band does something for a while, and then the other band kind of comes in. So the plan was that Deadbolt was in the studio recording the new record, while Buzzard Canyon is out doing shows. And as soon as the new record was done, then vice versa. So as of right now, we have, I don't know, five or six Buzzard Canyon songs down the pipe right now. So we're gonna, tighten those up. We're starting to do a couple of them live. We're gonna eventually start doing some demoing. So hopefully by the end of 2018, I'd say we have something, right?
He's like this, right? He can't stop moving. He's always got to be
100%
producing music.
Yeah,
right?
he's always got something going for sure.
Yeah. And at some point, there's productivity, and then there's pathological. You just can't stop, right? And the reason I say this is because that's what I'm like. I just can't. Couldn't stop if I wanted to.
I don't know. I don't know if it's can't. I think it's more of the way I've always looked at it is, we've got two very unique things that we're doing, between both bands. So I want to keep them active, as for as long as we possibly can. So I mean, if one band's in the studio, the other band's out doing shows, and try and swap them out like that, because you have like bands that release one record every 5-6 years. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to kind of keep everything fresh, keep it new, keep innovating, and keep going. So, and
I would think too that because those bands are so different, that when it's time for you to switch gears and move over to writing some Buzzard Canyon as opposed to Deadbolt, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, because you're probably extinguished all those riff ideas, everything from Deadbolt, and now you're like, I'm going to switch into something totally different. Your brain's just ready for it.
It takes a little bit. It's weird. With Deadbolt, the process has always been kind of bizarre. I mean,
I believe that.
I mean, there was periods of times where what was it? Drifting Towards the Edge of the Earth. We literally wrote it and recorded in 3 days. I mean, we drank a ton of wine, and we had no ideas. We just sat in a studio, drank wine, and wrote and recorded at the same simultaneously. And then we went on tour with Elder for like 8.5 days or whatever, and didn't touch it again until we got back. And at that point, it took a year to finish the record at that point. And it was, just kind of adding the different guitars in, adding the vocals and all that, getting guest musicians and all that. But then once that was done, we had to learn the music because we'd only written it and recorded it. We had no idea what the hell we did. So sometimes that's the process. And with this new record, it was kind of similar to that. I mean, it was definitely, I think, a little bit more planned out, but I mean,
we did more rehearsal for this past record, just even individual riffs, but just trying to formulate ideas. But it came together pretty quickly. The basic tracks, getting them down to where we're like, that's the stuff. But it did, and then throughout a few weeks, it does, in a workflow way, it does take some time just to get them down right. The new Deadbolt coming out we spent some time recording bed tracks more so than the last record. It worked out, but again, it takes another year, and because of workflow, it actually takes another year to bring it all around with doing shows, rehearsals for both bands, and even doing shows. The non-stopping thing is almost a workflow thing that if you do stop, you're not going to get this done. Next thing you know, you're a year down the road. You're like, oh, where do we miss something? Right. We're behind.
It kills the momentum. Yeah,
you really got to keep it up. But as we've kept the momentum up over the past few years, it is momentum. It keeps on growing.
Right. Yeah, and the Buzzard Canyon stuff that we're doing now, like, it's I don't want to say it's too different than the last record, but I think it's more. It's definitely more ambitious, I think, because the first record was a lot of songs that were around during the original iteration of the band, and then everybody came in and we, revised it, and, Mike added his parts, Dumas added his parts, that type of thing. But now we're writing as the five of us with this record, so it's definitely, like, the personalities are coming out, and the vibe is, it's different. But I think it's more ambitious, more aggressive, I guess.
And some of the songs have, like, some of the shells. It's flowing out of us. But we're not going to mail it in with this one either. It's very much a concerted effort to make sure we deliver something that we're satisfied with and going, hey, we really dig this.
Yeah.
Before I came over here, we were talking about the videos, and we watched, my daughter and I watched the video that you guys put out. What song was that for?
Highway Run.
Yeah, we watched that like 5 or 6 times. My daughter, who's 6, is asking me, about it. What are you doing today and all this stuff. And she wanted to know, why is that girl stealing things? Because in her world, stealing is a big But she also had a question. She had a question for Amber, and I'm going to play this now.
Hi, Amber. How did you learn how to sing?
Just singing along to all the people that I love to listen to. That's about it. I'm pretty good at matching notes and kind of mimicking exactly what I hear. So that's kind of how I learned. And then I guess you could say singing with the choir and liturgical choir and show choir and chorale my whole life pretty much. you learn how to sing with people that are very good, and then it kind of helps strengthen your abilities as well. So practice.
That could be an entirely new line of questions based on you coming up in the church and the choir and all that stuff, and where we are right now.
Roman Catholic raised.
But let's not. Well, that'll be. That we'll have that interview after the arrest. We'll say.
That's the
Aaron, is it true that if there were a biopic of your life, that David Lynch would have to write and direct it?
I would thoroughly enjoy that.
I think that would only make sense.
It would.
So Matt, over to you. We already talked about you're a Berkeley trained musician, drummer. So how did your denim endorsement deal happen? And are you 100% a Levi's guy, or do you dabble in Wrangler? Today you're wearing Carhartt.
For the jeans that I like to wear, my pants, it's usually I'm pretty much a Levi's guy. But I will go Wrangler if I'm feeling it. Is it inappropriate to refer to something as a Canadian tuxedo?
Only if we want to go back there again.
Yeah.
Tell me though that you're making money for wearing it.
I wish.
Because I didn't see you guys thank Wrangler inside your album notes. That was my question.
Hopefully that's coming.
I think we inlaid it as a backwards message. So if you play the records backwards, it says "Thank you, Wrangler."
Yeah, back mass. So from the outside, when I watch you guys and kind of getting to know you over the last year or so, Aaron seems to be like the driving initial, creative force. Amber's the front person. Randy's like the enigmatic bassist that people like to watch. Matt is the 100% cotton backbone of the group. But I sense that Mike is the secret weapon. Would you guys agree with that?
There's a rumor.
Yes.
Yeah.
150%.
It's the hair.
The hair is nice. Yeah.
Have you touched it though?
I haven't touched it. I get real envious about hair stuff, so I kind of stay away from that. But can you guys talk about that a little bit? Because Mike is like, even when you guys play on stage, Mike is the guy that kind of recedes into the shadows a little bit, and he just plays his parts or whatever. He's kind of the quiet guy. But from talking to a couple of you recently, like there's more to him than one would guess musically. And you guys have been playing with him. You've been playing with him for almost 30 years.
Well, Dumas and I both have. Yeah. We've both known for years. He's. I'm going to talk about you like you're not in the room.
That's the best way.
Definitely one of the best musicians I've ever played with. I mean, guitar style is phenomenal. And it's funny because when Deadbolt was looking for a bass player, we had been touring as a two-piece band for, I think, a year and a half, 2 years. It was a different drummer, this kid Mike and myself. We couldn't find a bass player that wanted to play the type of stuff at the time. So, we just went around doing two-piece stuff. I bi-amped, and, we were just loud and obnoxious or whatever. And eventually, when we started working with Scott, Scott was like, hey, Mike Parkin wants to play bass with you guys. And I'm like, get out of here, because I knew Mike, and he's a phenomenal musician. And I was like, well, there's no way he'd want to dumb it down to play what we play, because Deadbolt, it's not rocket science. And he set it up where Mike, I think you came over, and at the time we had switched drummers, so now we had Rich in the band, and Mike came over and already knew a handful of tunes, and it just worked out from there. And I was just like, holy shit, he really likes this. This is actually going to work out. So when we started playing with the Burning Kind, the Buzzard Canyon stuff, Mike's guitar style is just second to none. It matches exactly what we do. And I'm not a very good guitar player, so for me, I have a hard time playing with other guitarists, because it's like, I've had other guitar players that try to do it and they just want to shred, and I can't shred. I can't keep up with it. I used to be able to when I was a kid, but not anymore. I just don't care to. But Mike, I think the style works perfect together. We work really well off each other and bounce everything. So it's a perfect mix.
We work it out.
Yeah.
Mike actively backing away from the microphone right now.
It's about the sound, sound of the band and the music. It's you know. Yeah, I've always just tried to work with the other musicians in the band and you know, just kind of make it sound good overall. Is, you know, it's not about, you know, me or the other guy or anything. It's what are we doing together here, you know?
And I've noticed from seeing you guys quite a bit lately that your guitar tones are very different, I'm sure by design. And the way you guys play guitar visually is different.
That's how it really is.
Yeah. And it's just how much thought went into that versus you came in and you have your sound and you have
none.
It just happens. Yeah.
We're very different. We come from different planets. Playing style and, you know, what we use for equipment. And so he's such a bad influence on me. You know, I'm so straightforward. I've never had pedals before this band.
How many pedals do you have, Aaron?
Yeah, too many.
Yeah. So, but and part of it's you know try to me doing what I always do and just try to, you know, make it fit together. You know, it's not about me and what my guitar sounds like. It's, you know, there's two guitars.
Yeah.
You know,
being part of the whole.
Yeah, we're gonna, you know, but yeah, we never planned it.
No.
It was just kind of maybe some adjustments.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you're going to have two guitar players in a band or two of anything, you don't want them doing the exact same thing or sounding the exact same way. You know, and I mean, because then what's the point? I mean, you might as well just stereo amp yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But
have a clone.
Right. So, you know, we definitely have different styles and we definitely have different tones, but I think that's what you need, you know, and Mike's way better at figuring that shit out than I am.
It's just a matter of, you know, making our parts fit together, really. It's,
right.
And as a bass player, then between these two guys in this band, as a bass player, it's like I connect the dots between all three of us going around, and it's like I might lock in with this dude, I might lock in with this dude. But where I lock in with Aaron is slightly different spots. Where I lock in with Mike, you know, it's slightly here and here. It's like this low-endy thing that we do. And then it translates over to the other band because now I know Aaron is a musician in another band. Now I know Mike is a musician in another band. And I've known Mike in a few bands as a musician. So now you see other people, tendencies on the other side. But there's an inherent similarity between how Mike said he's going to make it work. He's going to make it fill in the spots. And when him and I play guitar and bass respectively together, we make that fill in the spots, bounce off of each other, but bounce off the other musicians. So there's a lot of like go between that. We don't talk about it; it just happens, almost by accident because of what we do. But we hear little details. Mike and I hear little details between each other that he might do something off of what I'm doing, or I might hear his reaction to what I'm doing. Or hearing something like, oh, wait, we can make this better. And we just do it without even saying it. But, like, a good example is Louder Than God. The end of that came from, like, we play that a certain way for a certain reason because of just doing it. And it just keeps coming out, like, it refines itself until it's, like, you hear it live and you're like, oh, yeah, all right.
You know, I just remember the word that Dumas said before we started recording. Dumas said disambiguated. He used that in a sentence. It's
impressive.
I didn't see that coming. But anyway, I want to get back to what you were saying. So as abrasive and loud as Buzzard Canyon is live, and you guys are loud live.
Sorry.
But it sounds
Not sorry.
It sounds like that somebody would be well served throwing on some headphones and sitting down because everybody's doing something different and really kind of digging in, and there's probably a lot to hear inside if you really dig into it.
I agree.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
You kind of lost me for a second there, but I mean there's a lot going on, but it's so very cohesive.
Yeah, in other words, like during the live, I'm not going to be able to sit down and necessarily, unless I'm watching his hands or whatever, pick apart what you guys are doing differently, but listening to it through headphones and really like being able to, oh man, I can really tell there's something going on between these two guys right now. And then later, I mean, there's some interesting.
Without question.
Yeah.
Without
definitely.
question. It was one of the albums I definitely kind of cite sometimes, is where him and I have a headspace, is Appetite for Destruction. And
you guys played on that album? Jesus Christ.
Dude, I was so good on that. But it's one of those things where anybody who's familiar with that, it's a five-piece band that has a lot going on, but you can catch those little things here and there, and I always akin that to what they're doing, how we make it all work together.
Are you saying that Mike Parkin is the Izzy Stradlin of this band?
100%
totally.
Oh yeah,
Izzy's the man, right?
I dig it. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah, he's a great guitar player.
He's the unsung hero. He doesn't have the top hat and he doesn't have the voice or whatever. People don't pay so much attention to him, but he's the genius in that band, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
I wouldn't say that about myself.
Oh no, I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, we can.
There are certain times when Mike is so reserved, but if you hear him play when he's just like actually just ripping on shit, it's fucking mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Speaking of which, you told me a funny story, Aaron, once. Your name is Aaron Lewis. I'm sure that was fine for the first 20-something years of your life, but come around 2000, that got a little dicey. But it's worked out for you a couple times because you were once trying to make a call to Sully from Godsmack. Is that what it was? And you got right through to him. Who was it that you got through to?
All right,
because of your name.
So there was the fire at the Rhode Island Club quite a few years. It was during the Great White Show. Remember?
Yeah. Station fire.
Yeah. So the band that I was in at the time, we decided we wanted to do a benefit show to help raise money for the people, the victims of that fire. So I had gotten a hold of a CMJ catalog. I don't know if you remember those at all.
Oh yeah.
And it had listings of every management company you could think of. I mean, David Bowie's management, Limp Bizkit, like all that shit. And I was like, holy shit, the direct phone numbers and addresses. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So I called him up and I was like, hey, it's Aaron Lewis and I've got an offer. I want to try and have you guys come down and headline this benefit show. People would get right on the phone. So I talked to JJ French, and actually at the time, Twisted Sister was debating, and Life of Agony too. They were debating doing the benefit show, right?
That's how he pointed to me when he said Life of Agony.
well, because I got a story about that too. But they only got on the phone because it was Aaron Lewis, and I talked to Fred Durst for a minute too, and he's like, "You're not Aaron Lewis." I'm like, "No, dude, I am. It's not my fault. They thought I was the different Aaron Lewis. Like, it's my name, so fuck him, right?" So anyway, I ended up talking to Keith Caputo from Life of Agony. And he's like, hey, look, Life of Agony, we can't really get the band back together. We're talking about it right now, but now's not the right time. He's like, but I'm doing a side project. It's kind of like a Doorsy tripped out type thing. Why don't you come to CBGB's and see me? So I was like, okay, cool. So I took the train, went down to CBGB's, saw his new project, and it was good. I liked it. So we had them headline the benefit show, which ended up being a complete flop. But it was Sal Abrusco on drums from Typo Negative.
Right.
And Keith Caputo, and then bass player and a guitar player that I don't remember exactly who it was. So after the show, they used our gear. They took the train in or whatever. So, they had no expenses. And they charged us like $1,500 or $1,700 to do that.
Yeah.
And we only played for like 45 minutes. But we were like, so starstruck, And at the time, Keith Caputo's like a little tiny dude,
Yeah.
Like,
well, let's not say dude. Let's not assume.
Anymore. But I mean, at the time, he was a little dude. So I give him the check, and at the time, after giving him the check, basically the benefit show put me in the hole like a couple $100.
Yeah.
So I give him the check, and I'm like, hey man, thanks for playing the show. We really appreciate it. Give him a big hug, walked out back. They went out to the parking lot and went back in the building. Like 5 minutes later, my phone rings, and it's Keith Caputo. I'm like, holy shit, he wants something. This is great. Maybe he saw my band and wants to, He's like, hey, come out to the parking lot. Come talk to me. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I walk up to the parking lot. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, you trying to fuck me, man? I'm like, what?
Now, knowing what we know now, that could have. But it's about money you're talking about.
But he's like this little dude, and he's looking at me. He's looking up at me saying, are you trying to fuck me? And he thinks he's got that real Italian thing going on.
Joe Pesci on you?
Yeah, and I was like, look, man, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you didn't sign the back of the check, or that I didn't sign my name on the check when I wrote it to him. I was like, God damn it. So I took the check and I wrote my name on it and handed it to him and walked away. So that was it. But
he's getting all Brooklyn tough with you. And
right.
So, yeah.
But that was all because of Aaron Lewis. So thank you.
If you got decided to get into like country, you wouldn't even have to be good. You just say Aaron Lewis is playing country songs at this. People are just going to show up.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, I could do it all day. I'll get a neck tattoo of a flag because I think that's what you got, right?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So, it's pretty obvious from both your bands that you guys put a lot of work, a lot of thought into the composition of the material and your presentation. And when it came in, you guys were talking about album covers. You're putting a lot of thought into it. Your videos are like that too, and it seems like there's a lot of work. As somebody who's edited videos before, also there's a lot of work that went into the videos that you've produced for both bands. So for you, what's the process of putting these videos together? Do you sit down and have a concept and?
Yes, I guess is the short answer. The two that were done for when the Deadbolt Breaks, the Hills, Sleeping Burning Hills, and the Woods Are Full of Killers. So they both kind of stemmed from photography projects that I had in mind. And once the labels at the time were like, hey, we want you to do a video for the song or whatever, then it was basically taking that project and putting a storyline to it, because I don't want them to be just us playing in the woods,
right?
With unplugged instruments or whatever, So create the storyline that goes along with my photography, and then it's kind of cool because the photography comes to life because now you can put actual video cameras there and, bring the girls in or whoever it is and actually make the storyline happen. So it's kind of cool for me being able to see my pictures in one aspect and then seeing the video in the other aspect, everything comes to life. Highway Run was very similar to that. We had a basics of a storyline for the song Highway Run, which is the first song that was written for Buzzard Canyon. And then it was, trying to make it into an actual conceptual, like a visual concept. And we brought in 410 Media and, gave them the basic outline of what I had. And within the next day, they had this whole storyline drawn up, against my ideas. And
yeah.
And it worked out perfectly. Yeah, it was phenomenal. So.
Yeah, I can. And then, did you sit down and do the editing, color correction, and all that?
No.
No. Okay.
No. We had for the first two videos for Deadbolt, we had Charles Winthal, who I don't think he has a company; he just kind of does his own thing, and phenomenal guy. So he did the editing, but we did some of it online together because there was like the first iteration he had sent me back for The Woods Are Full of Killers was like I wasn't pleased. It wasn't what I had in mind,
Yeah.
So we did it online, which is painstaking. Like I
Right.
was sitting there on Skype watching him edit these things, and
That's
telling him exactly what I wanted, and I get kind of controlling about stuff like that. But 410 Media, once they got a hold of the Highway Run for Buzzard Canyon, they did everything, and they sent me the iterations, and I sent them my comments or whatever, and they were really quick with it. And those guys are absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask because you obviously do photography, you shoot shows and other subject matter. Are you at all available for filming videos for other bands that are interested? Is that something that you would get into?
I'm to the point now where I absolutely can do that. And actually, Deadbolt's going to be working on a new video in the next couple of weeks, which I'm going to do all the editing and photography myself and videography. So I could do it, yeah.
Okay, so if somebody's interested, they can get a hold of you.
Sure.
Okay. So what I like to do now is what I call the lightning round. So I'm going to ask you guys some real fast questions. Try to answer as quickly as you can, okay? And the first one actually might require some thought, but think quickly because it is the lightning round, okay? And we're going to go around. We're going to ask everybody, if you could resurrect one dead musician, who would it be?
Jimi Hendrix.
Dumas says Jimi Hendrix. Matt on the drums.
John Bonham.
Of course. Saw that coming. Mike.
I don't do anything fast.
Does that count as an answer?
Mike doesn't do anything fast. Okay, we'll take that. All right, what about over here? The vocal side.
Oh, of course, Chris Cornell.
Okay, recent.
I'm a dork, I know.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne.
There you go. I'm pretty sure Aaron wasn't in the Navy, so how is he so good at tying knots?
Nobody's going to get that reference.
All right. Matt, who wore it better, Judd Nelson's denim jacket in The Breakfast Club or Aaron when he was an extra in The Outsiders?
Aaron in The Outsider.
Okay, good.
Love that movie.
It's a good one.
Stay gold.
Stay gold.
Yeah, stay gold.
Matt, a follow-up. Does being a Berkeley educated, musician, does it make you more critical than the average music listener or musician? Can you still just listen to music, or do you have to kind of analyze it?
No, I listen to music for the enjoyment of it, and if there's, flubs or mistakes, is kind of part of, what makes it, human music. A lot of these bands today, they, auto-tune everything, and they, Pro Tools, real slick, drums are snapped to a grid, and, it doesn't sound, at a certain point, you lose the feel of what a live band sounds like. And that's one thing that's really cool with, I've actually been in bands where, the producer had us do stuff like that, and it was solid too, but there was some life that got sucked out of it. And going with Aaron, it's pretty much with the recording setup here is as close to analog as you can get without actually printing to tape. We still just print to a hard drive, but there's no grid or anything. You're not looking at a computer monitor. You're not looking at anything like that. It's just
hit it while it's hot. That's
hit it. Yeah. So.
Okay. Speaking of videos, so Amber, the video for Sleeps in Burning Hills by Deadbolt, my daughter was watching that one too. And in school, she's working on fiction versus nonfiction. She wants to know if that video is fiction or nonfiction, and if Aaron actually killed you.
Maybe that version of me, yes.
It's a deep answer. For your other video for Buzzard Canyon, how much did Craig McAllister charge you for being in your video? Not for using the room, but for him personally making an appearance. And follow-up question, is that Watain vest really his, or did someone else supply that to him?
I think the charge was to drive my Camaro.
Okay.
In the Watain, the vest, it's a whole different. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose that. So
okay, I can accept that answer. All right, top Connecticut doom/stoner bands that are current. Just throw them out there.
You hear that band Banth?
I haven't. Sounds boring.
Check them out.
Sounds sleepy.
They're all right.
Cortez.
Cortez?
Cortez is Boston.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm stupid. Just leave me out of this.
Cortez is good.
I like bands.
Let's see who's
Scott of the Earth's ears just perked up somewhere.
I would definitely say Banth is on the top of that list.
Pintogram.
Pintogram is great. Undercliff is great too.
Undercliff, right? Undercliff is really good.
Yeah, there's actually a few playing the fest coming up in April, right?
Curse the Sun is phenomenal.
Love Curse the Sun.
Is going to be
Lord Fowl, Lord
they
Fowl's
haven't
great.
been active in a while, but I think they have a new record coming out. So they're
So many good bands.
Denim Panther is going to be there.
Yeah, those guys are fun too. Talk about a little bit of Motorhead influence in there.
Straight up rock, man. Yeah, they don't screw around.
Yeah, real good time. All right, so to close this out, what's the immediate future for Buzzard Canyon? I know that you guys, like I said, we're getting ready to release the Deadbolt, and then you're getting into the writing process. What about shows, tours? What's going on?
Yeah, we are pretty much going to focus on demoing and working on new material, but we are playing the first annual New England Stoner and Doom Fest, All Tones, Jewett City.
Which day you guys on?
We're on the Saturday, and Deadbolt is on the Friday night.
Okay, yeah, we're playing Friday.
Yep. And then we're on Stone to Death 3. John Gulo, a cool promoter we know, runs Promoterhead. And he put us on, that's up in Brattleboro at the Stone Church. That's going to be, I think it's Memorial Day weekend, that Saturday.
Yeah, May 26th, right?
Yeah. So just that for now, and if some shows come up, we might, take them. But we're trying to focus on getting some new material together.
Yeah. All right. And as far as Deadbolt, kind of the same thing, but we have kind of a big announcement that'll be coming relatively soon. So
I asked Mike what that was, and I either got the sense he didn't know, or there's so many possible announcements that he couldn't choose which one to tell me. So
Or he's afraid.
being Mike, he didn't say anything. He just, I was like, Mike, what's this big announcement I'm hearing? And this is what I heard.
It wouldn't be
It's
a
good.
big announcement if we gave you a
That's
small
right, that's
announcement
right.
now.
That's
We
right.
have to
Don't
save
want
it. It's going to be slightly bigger than what we can give you now.
Okay, I accept that. Lastly, any shout-outs, plugs, photography, videography, studio work, anything you guys want to talk up?
Scene Productions.
Yeah.
Scene Productions for bringing it to Eastern Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, without question.
Rejuvenating the whole metal scene around here.
Yeah, man. Like it for years, the scene in Connecticut was kind of sucking wind, and I know I say that, and people look at me kind of cockeyed sometimes, but it's true. It was really kind of a poor scene, and all of a sudden, Dwayne comes up with this idea, and it starts happening. And now we go to shows, and it's like a brotherhood there, which is how it was in like the early '90s. I mean, it's so different. It's different than it was, and it's good. And I mean, what they've done is amazing. So
You guys have been playing together and playing metal for 30-ish years, and you told me last weekend this is literally the best the scene's ever been.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, at least on this side of Connecticut, 100%, no questions asked. Yeah.
Yeah, and last night, Scene Fest 2 over in Jewett City at Altones, which I think is like our CBGBs.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not like
without question.
And it was awesome. It was packed. Great bands. Really good energy. You never see fights at those shows. You never see any nonsense. And
I was waiting for a fight.
Yeah,
Come on, we were expecting
that's
it. Come on.
scripted. That's
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
That should have been Jello wrestling. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone needs to see that.
It was, we saw that coming though.
Yeah. All right. So, but anything else? So you take pictures. You take band pictures. You can record bands.
Yeah. So Lounge 708, I do all sorts of photography, mostly obscure stuff, but I do shoot bands at times. And the video thing, it's something I can do, and we'll be releasing a video, the next couple of months to kind of show that. So I'm for hire.
All right. Anybody else? Plugs?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. We're technically in your lair, I think you would call this. But yeah,
He
definitely.
thinks he's getting out.
That's what the joke comes in.
But yeah, I mean, you guys are practicing. You made time for me to come down here and talk to you, so that was definitely good. I apologize that DMB wasn't here. I'm sure he's got a reason, but he's going to be grief stricken because he loves you guys like more than anybody, and he's gonna do this again. Yeah. I expect him coming up your driveway hearing that all the way up. But all right, guys, Buzzard Canyon, check them out when you get a chance. New material coming out from Deadbolt, and then Buzzard Canyon down the road a little bit. And again, guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Buzzard Canyon for having me out for the interview. Let's hear a track from them now. This is Wyoming off their disc Hellfire and Whiskey.
everything is damaged, broken and it can't be right. Gins of brothers deeper, the devil's made his home this night. 10 more miles to leave my life behind. The road is paved with tire spikes. Come here and die with me. Move the tide to swim in blood.
All right, that was Buzzard Canyon with their song Wyoming off the album Hellfire and Whiskey. And you can find that album at buzzardcanyon.bandcamp.com, or preferably go see them at a show. I know they carry CDs and stickers and patches and LPs and all sorts of stuff. So catch up with them at a show. I'm going to play a track now by a northeastern Connecticut band called Metamorsia. And they are a death metal band consisting of a bunch of younger guys. To me, that means, early 20s. And what I like about them is that guys their age typically play something that's a little more, like deathcore. And that's not what Metamorsia is doing. They are dipping deep into the late 80s and early 90s for their influences, and you're going to hear that now. This is Metamorsia and their track, The Philosopher's Nightmare.
There is some screaming, there is some fleeing.
That was Metamorsia with their track The Philosopher's Nightmare, and that is a track that they contributed to the compilation It Came From Connecticut Volume 3, which you can find at Bandcamp, boneheadstudio.bandcamp.com. The guys at Metamorsia just got done recording, I think, a 4-song EP, and it might be available already. So check in with them. You can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/Metamorsia. All right, that's it for this episode. If you have any bands that you would like to have interviewed on the SECT Metal Podcast or even a track played, get a hold of me. You can find me on Facebook or in the Eastern Connecticut Metal group. Hopefully we'll be back soon. Maybe.